So let's get started and draw some chits. First up, we have regroup action. Regroup action is going to do absolutely nothing at the moment. I have already mentioned that all commanders have a command range, which I think is 3 hexes at standard. If units outside the command range, they sit and do nothing. And when you draw this chit, you can basically move them back into command range if you want to. But since all units are deployed within command range, I think that unit's the furthest out, and it is in command range of this guy here, of Toppin. He might be out of command range actually. 1, 2, 3. So I will move this unit here. I'm just going to move it 1, 2 across. Everything else is in command range. Cannons. Okay. I could choose to fire the French cannons at this point, and I might well do that. I'm going to need to check some of the rules though on cannons, because they have to be unlimbered, and I'm not sure which side up is limbered or unlimbered yet. Okay, rules checked. The artillery action chit only allows unlimbered artillery to fire, and at the moment none of these artillery are unlimbered. When artillery unlimber, basically can spend 2 movement points and they flip over to their specific side. Also, artillery should always be facing an edge rather than a vertex, so they're basically the same as being in column formation. But if this artillery was flipped over like this, it could potentially fire, although I probably wouldn't want to fire through here. You can... no, I don't think you can ever fire over friendly units. I'll have to check. Cannons might sometimes be able to do it, but I'll worry about that when it actually comes to be relevant. But at the moment, these units are not doing anything. Artillery, you'll notice, also have these. These are ammunition wagons, and they basically carry 6 rounds of ammo, and it has to be within a certain range of the cannon for the cannon to be able to fire. But once you're out of your 6 shots, you're done. It's not many. Okay, next chit. Alright, French number 2, which means this is just Toppin. Toppin and his men can move. So he can order anything within 3 hexes of him, which basically means, I think this unit here is out, and this unit here is out, but most of his other units he's capable of. Actually, no, he can do this. He can do this one here. Just this one's out. He can order most of his units, which are most of the units on the board. He doesn't really want to do a great deal with them at the moment, though, so he really just wants to wait and see what the English are going to do. Alright, so I've just drawn this English chit, so it's their turn to move. On the French movement with their manoeuvre unit, all I did was I spent 1 movement point for this infantry unit here, which has got this little horn in it, which basically means it's light. I call it a horn, it should be called, I can't remember what it's properly called. And they can flip over to skirmish order, which basically means they flip to their specific side, so they're now skirmished. And this tank, sorry, not tank, what am I talking about? This cannon unit, artillery unit, has flipped over to its specific side. It spent 2 movement points to deploy, so it's unlimbered. You know, the horses have been taken away and the cannons are pointing in the right direction. It can now fire in the fire phase. And some of these units have switched to column, which means they've moved their orientation from looking that way to pointing towards the edge rather than towards the vertice. So they're ready to move. Units in column formation, basically, they move their normal movement rate. So this unit here has got a movement rate of 6. It's got 4 increments. So it can move 6 while it's in column, and it's in column at the moment. And a road is half a movement point. Clear ground is 1 movement point. This sort of typical war game stuff. One thing I mentioned in the previous video is the English units. So this is the 20th Battalion. You have the battalion itself, which has got 2 dots above the 20, but then you've got these single companies by themselves. And I was unclear about whether I was supposed to put them, what I was supposed to do with them. I've decided just to stick them with their battalion during setup, even if it doesn't mention them in the setup rules at all. And these suckers, these can, because they've got a little horn on them, they can skirmish. So the English are going to advance. That's another rule I might have got wrong here. I don't know whether they're supposed to have a manoeuvre unit on this guy, because he's not in command range of his superiors, because his superior officer is still waiting to come in reinforcements. But I've decided, what the hell, it's more interesting if I just get him moving straight away. So he's in command, and he commands all the units within 3 hexes of him. So all these guys can move. So this unit here is going to flip over to skirmish order, and that's 1 movement point spent because it costs infantry 1 movement point to change formation, and then it's got 6 movement points left, so it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't know if it's got enough to occupy that church, so I'm just going to stick it next to church. It's actually less than, because it's moved up the road some of that, it's probably less than 6, but hang on. This unit here has got 6 movement points, so it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'll just stick it behind that, and it's in column. This one's going to flip over, and go, I'll move it down the road actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have your movement chart. It's late in the evening again, so my shadow's casting over the footage a bit. So a chateau or church costs 3 movement points, which means these guys here, they spent 1 to flip over, and they spent 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so they can get there. Those skirmishers are in the church area. And then he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. I will stack my leader with this unit here. The only time units can stack with other units is if they have a leader with them. So in theory, these units here could not move through this stack if they were not accompanied by a leader, to my understanding. But they're not going to anyway, they're just going to move up the road. Like that. And that is the British movement. So movement's not that complicated really, it's like most other games. The main thing to remember is units cannot just move through other units, or at least stacking limits are always enforced. And I think that means they need a leader with them, because you can only stack units if you have a leader present in the hex. Otherwise, the men are sort of walking into each other because they're not organised properly. Right, I've drawn the next French manoeuvre chit. I did draw the leader action chit, but none of the leaders really wanted to move by themselves. So we take that off and we can move each of these French units. Everything within 3 of Riel, which is all these units here. What do I want to do? I probably want to move this cannon up a bit. It's got 6 movement spots. It's going to take 1 to move here. And then it's going to take +1 to go down the slope. So it's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's not going to be able to get up here until the next turn. And this will just follow it. And I'll move his cavalry as well. This cavalry, I think, will go down around that flank. Not sure if this is a good idea. They can move 14. They're light cavalry. Cavalry are defined as heavy or light based on their movement, and these guys can also skirmish because they've got the horn on them as well. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's technically a sunken road. It's got a little shading on either side of the road. I think that counts as a sunken road, which adds 4 cavalry plus 6 to their movement. So they're basically going to stop there, or just cross up just once. And then the last chit to be drawn this turn is the reinforcement chit, which means these suckers can come in now. So this stack is going to advance on at this A point. And we've got some Portuguese units, we've got Beresford, and we've got some more skirmishers, and an aide-de-camp, I think, and he's got a cannon. So I think I just wheel them on, basically. They're going to move into 6, they're in column, they're moving up the road. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll probably just do that. Just have a nice big line of dudes coming up the road. I'll stick that aide-de-camp with there. I'll stick Beresford just behind him like a coward. And then stick the skirmishers there. And my cannon at the back. Because that's good strategy, isn't it? Okay. So that's a turn played out. Not that complicated, nothing really complicated happened yet. But it emphasises the point with most war games is you can play out one turn without knowing hardly any of the rules, which is a good way to go about learning them. So, now all that's happened, well, I say we've had a turn, we've had the manoeuvre segment, I'm lying. We have fire combat and melee. Well, there's not going to be any melee. There can be some fire combat. These skirmishers can exchange fire. This cannon can fire. I don't think anything else can fire really, because you'd have to fire through their own dudes. This unit here might be able to fire. So I'm going to have a quick refresher on the fire phase rules, and then I'll do some shooting.